Okay, so I know I haven't made a video in a while, or maybe like 2 days, which may not be that long, but I've been wanting to make this video for like some years. I know I probably say that pretty often, but especially for like the past year or 2 or 3. But I think that I should definitely make this now. And I'm going to start off by saying, before I forget, that chomos, R-worders, I don't even know what I really can or can't say, because I don't want this to get like flagged or anything. Honestly, it probably won't, but maybe. But people who like to essay people in different forms and fashions, and well, not even just them, I mean, even when it comes to dating and friendships, and people who just like to like get everybody to like sleep with them and all that stuff, all of those people are Marine Kingdom agents. But I'm really just going to be focusing on like people who like SA people or try to. And the thing is, with the agendas that have been pushed, which I don't even know how I break this down, but there's just so many of them, and it's only going to get worse as we like go deeper and deeper into the end of the end, which is how do I break this down, because I don't want to go off on a rant, but this is why eventually there's going to be even more reasons for people to just like hide in the house, pretty much. Something that a lot of people have already been conditioned into doing, even when it wasn't really all that necessary, but like it's gonna become really, really necessary. Also, like I don't remember where it was. It's somewhere in like the New Testament, but like somewhere in there it says it's gonna come a time where like multiple women will go to one man and try to get him to like marry them. But then also, like, it's not even just about the thing with like the fallen angels and Nephilim trying to get with people, which honestly that plays a big part with this, but also just like things just being so dangerous to where you want to say that like you have somebody that'll protect you and come back and fight somebody if they try something. But that's kind of like maybe for another video. But anyways, essayers, chomos, R-worders, all of that, they're all Marine Kingdom agents. And this revolves around spirit spouses, lust spirits, perversion spirits, all the different things that like would cause paraphilias. The predator spirit, which the first person I ever heard talk about this was Apostle Ivory Hopkins. And you probably already know that Ahab, which I mean that's really for like codependence and stuff, but Ahab in a way, but especially Jezebel, Delilah, other marine spirits, perversion spirits, Leviathan, which that's a marine spirit that twists words. Those are all also part of like PDs. It's especially known to be a part of quote-unquote narcissism. I don't know why people never mention the other PDs, but all this goes hand in hand. You'll notice that like people with like PD type stuff going on always like have some type of sexual issue. And I remember even since the evidence channels, I've talked about like sexual addiction, or at least for myself anyways. What else was it? And BPD like symptoms, because I don't like claim labels, which is one of the many off branches of CPTSD. All that stuff goes hand in hand, because like it's all from trauma, and it's pretty much a cycle, really. People like getting victimized and then victimizing others. That's the real pandemic. Which it also plays along with the spiritual transference, which of course also happens in like the sexual rituals, or really abuse in general, but especially like in the sexual rituals, you get the what do people like to call it, sexually transmitted demons, the soul ties. Just the fact that it's a ritual and it like opens you up and puts spirits in you that way, not just like the spirits that you get from the abuser through the STD, quote unquote. But hopefully all that made sense. but I'm gonna like try to mostly talk from the notes. So, this is something I've really been wanting to talk about. You may have heard about narcissist black eyes, which luckily I've never seen, but I have seen red eyes. And this is something I noticed a lot in chomos. Their eyes are red sometimes because, well, honestly, not even sometimes. A lot of them like have different substance use disorders, which is also common with like PDs as well. And others, I don't know why their eyes are red. Some like they're not even like high on something. Their eyes are just red for whatever reason. But I knew of my abusers at least that like, well, not even for SA, but just like other stuff. But I knew that like with my abusers or one of them that did have this happen. It just meant that at that point in time they were fully possessed, which usually was like, I mean, it could happen really anytime, but especially at like midnight, the witching hour, when the veil is thinnest. Okay, so I wrote down spirit spouses. Honestly, before I even really start reading, I think I should just go ahead and say like the overall point. So the overall point is that people who people who try to or do SA people are Marine Kingdom agents. And if you have like generational curses of marine spirits, or you just have them from like whatever reason, maybe you were SA, which usually you have a generational marine spirit and they set you up to get SA'd in the first place. And then once the spirit attaches itself to you, it will keep bringing people to SA you even well into adulthood, to be honest. Like, there are some people that like have it so bad and really need it broken off of them to where like every time they leave the house they get assaulted, and it's like that's not how that's supposed to go whatsoever. And the thing is, like, people don't understand the spiritual side, so they just feel like it's something that they're doing wrong. And then also, of course, setting you up to become a Marine Kingdom agent yourself, which doesn't mean you have to necessarily run around like assaulting people and stuff and abusing people, at least not in like that way, but like just making you the person that's like always luring people into relationships and walking around half naked, whether you're a boy or a girl, to be honest. And so like they want you to become like a Marine Kingdom agent and not only like create soul ties with people, but spread the marine spirits to other people. And anyways, the point is, when you have stuff like this going on, or when the spirits are just trying to attack you to get reattached, they send people after you to try to molest you or SA you and stuff like that to like reestablish the covenant. And this can happen if you're still in it, or if like maybe you've been breaking free from sexual addiction and so you're not doing all the things that they want you to do and they're mad, so they're trying to get access back into your life by trying to like destroy you with people. That's going to be the overall point. Okay, so spirit spouses. I just wrote that, but I'm not really sure what all I was really supposed to say with that. There's plenty of videos out here on this. I personally first started like researching symptoms I had from my own issues when I was honestly younger than 8, but especially at 8, I really like started to try to figure out more. I already knew about like the lust and perversion spirits. That was like the main term I really knew, but then like I didn't find out about the term Marine Kingdom or even spirit spouse until like 14, maybe a little younger. But at 8, I found out about the incubus and succubus spirit, and that's when I I mapped that together with trauma, of course. Well, I had already mapped together trauma and same-sex attraction, or paraphilias in general, and sexual addiction, but spirit spouses or incubus, succubus spirit, waking up with scratches, sexual addiction, same-sex attraction, all other paraphilias. I'm trying to think about what I didn't say. Possession, supernatural horniness, or arousal, really. I guess that's the same thing. Sleep paralysis, and wet dreams, or quote-unquote nocturnal emissions. And also the thing with that is that they use your eggs or your seed to repopulate the Marine Kingdom. So that's why you may not start having them till like you start having a period or something, because like one of the points of that isn't just to like put more demons in you, make you more demonized, but also to use your DNA and stuff to repopulate the marine kingdom, or really the demonic kingdom in general. So like they're going to want to steal your eggs and your sperm and stuff. So that's what that's really about. But you could start having those like even way before you start puberty or whatever, just because the demons want to mess you up. In fact, you may even start like getting assaulted by the demons before you ever actually get assaulted by a human agent, or before you start assaulting people yourself. Whether you're like acting out your trauma on other people when you're still young, or like maybe you're older, whatever. But anywho, there's something else I was supposed to say. Oh yeah, so the dreams. When you have a marine kingdom spirits or generational curses, or spirits, you're gonna have like different dreams. Honestly, your dreams always mean something anyways, but that's like a video of its own. So like you'll have dreams of like being drowned. In fact, I really wanted to make a video for like years, as always, about like different demonic dreams I would have, especially when I was still like at the height of my possession from sexual addiction, which would be mostly from like age 8 to 9, or 8 to like 11 or 10. But you're gonna have dreams of them like trying to drown you. Like I remember this, like I had some of the weirdest little bullcrap happen when I was around my dad. So like there was this one time when I was about 6 or 7, and I was asleep in my dad and my quote-unquote stepmom's bed. And so my stepmom was at work, my dad was about to go to the store, and so for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I was like, will you like watch me to make sure nothing happens to me while I'm asleep? And he was like, yeah, sure. And then he left. And so lo and behold, like the demons were like trying to drown me, because like I had the dream, and so I was like in the ocean, which is how marine kingdom dreams go, and I was like drowning, but I really actually couldn't breathe. And actually they would do stuff like this pretty often. And so like I had to like fight the wake up. Similar stuff happened with the sleep paralysis, but this was obviously different because it's like a dream. And so when I woke up, like my face was like in a pillow. So like they had me dreaming about drowning while actually pushing my face into a pillow. And it's like I had so much weird stuff like that happen around my dad, and like he never really seems to remember this stuff. Like as a side note, this is really irrelevant, but there was this other situation where like me and my dad were walking from the store in the same neighborhood, and like a squirrel was in a tree and it spit on me and started laughing. Then I asked my dad, do squirrels always do that? And he was like, yeah, that's normal. And it wasn't till like I had said something to somebody about it at like 14 where they were like, that's not normal. So yeah, it's just like so many questions of different weird stuff that happened when I was around him and my grandma. But anyways, okay, I completely forgot something. I forgot to mention this one key detail when it comes to like spirit spouse dreams, which I'm pretty sure the spirit spouse doesn't even necessarily have to be like a water spirit. I think it could be like any type, but commonly it's like a marine one. But anyways, eating food in your dreams, and that doesn't even just have to revolve around like spirit spouses either. It's just like always a demonic sign, because they're like feeding you spells and incantations and human organs and stuff like that. But the spirit spouse especially will like offer you food in dreams. You may have dreams of like spiritual kids. You may have dreams of like the ocean, underwater cities, which do exist. What else was it? I already mentioned like the wet dreams, which could be a faceless person or the face of somebody you know that they could use, or even if they could use the face of someone you know, because that person is also a Marine Kingdom agent and they want to like convince you that you like should marry somebody that you really shouldn't even be around anyways, probably. Assault you in dreams. Also perversion spirit dreams. I forgot to mention this part. Like just perversion spirit dreams in general. which I've even heard this one dude who has a YouTube channel that's called Hold My Nuts, Hold Your Nuts, something like that. But he's talked about like a dream he had. I can't remember exactly how it went. And I actually had a similar dream before a few times, but I think it was like the opposite of his. I think in his it was like a woman who was like older, but then she got younger while standing at the door, which the door means that the spirit's trying to get in or regain access. But in dreams I've had, it's been a boy who's younger but then gets older, something like that. Can't really remember, but it was something like that. And I know like when I was 14, I used to watch Tiffany Buckner a lot. And I know she's mentioned plenty of times in videos that she at one point would have dreams like after she got essayed of a light-skinned boy with freckles who's like standing at a fence and he's trying to like get in. But luckily she never like tried to do anything with him, and so it didn't get the access it wanted. But it obviously did send actual real agents in real life, so. And then another thing. And then I'm going to circle back around to whatever in the world I was talking about before. The in-person Marine Kingdom agents, or at least, I don't know, I know at least with the chomos and stuff, they say the same things to you that the actual spirits would say, like in dreams, and maybe even in real life. So like, I guess like one way I can like explain it is that things work in patterns pretty much. Like with spiritual things, it's in patterns. Really everything has patterns. And I'm about to go like off somewhere else a little bit, but this is also another reason why like I guess for people who are like neurodivergent, quote unquote, like psychiatrists are always trying to pathologize it and compare it to like quote unquote schizophrenia, because I know like with quote unquote autism, people see things in patterns, and it's the same way with schizophrenia and like even some other things, to be honest. But I believe that people who are neurodivergent are more likely to get certain issues anyways, which I talked about before. So like people who are neurodivergent are more likely to get PDs due to trauma and different stuff like that. But hopefully people are still following. So anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so the patterns. So, I've noticed like the same way the spirit spouses and stuff will try to give you food in dreams, or will give you food in dreams, but you have to like really try to not accept it and like rebuke all that and like make sure you like try to get the different incantations out of you, because like that can also cause a lot of health issues. That's kind of a side thing. But just like they do in dreams, the person Marine Kingdom agents will like try to give you food and stuff too. So like I noticed when I was in, I think this was Manhattan, either way it was New York or something like that, a lot of Indian and Arabic Muslim dudes will like try to give me food pretty much. They would keep trying to like give me hot dogs and their vendor food, sandwiches. And I could even go off into like how people who like are in these religious organizations where they worship these like gendered, what would it be? All different gendered creature things commonly like have different issues with paraphilias. And this kind of even goes back to something that I say often. It's really weird to me that like people worship these genderless and paraphiliac deities and stuff, but will sometimes still have issues with like their kids or whatever being attracted to the same gender, or like wanting to become transgender. Because it's like in these cultures, in these, well, quote unquote cultures, in these religions, you're allowed to turn out kids, but they're not allowed to be turned out. And that's why I always have a lot of questions around all this mess. And to be truthfully honest, in these little quote-unquote cultures that are like this, as I've said before, they sleep with little boys and dudes too, and animals. They just pretend they don't. But yeah, it's just like, you can like push the Homo Manifesto agenda, which is similar to the Willie Lynch letter, but for all people, because it revolves around traumatizing the kids and turning them out, and the breakdown in the family system. But it's like, how can you can create the issue, but then the person can't be turned out, and the only way that they can be, the only paraphilia they can have is pedophilia, but they can't have anything else. But that's kind of like a whole nother video. Another thing with the patterns, I might have already said this, but they all say the same thing. So like, one example, a whole bunch of people that don't know each other, that have also never met you before, and they're Marine Kingdom agents, and they'll walk up to you, and so one chomo will be like, oh, you're out here looking for a boyfriend, and I don't know, maybe they'll accuse you of like a dating 50-year-olds or something. Probably not the best example, but one person will do that, and they don't know any of these other people. You go to like a whole another city, or maybe like, I don't know, you like go to another school or something, and you move, and then another Chomo Marine Kingdom agent says the exact same thing to you. So like maybe a teacher, and the teacher comes up to you and says, oh, you're looking for a boyfriend, and I bet you like older dudes. Or something else that predatory people love, especially when it comes to like them being chomos. They often like have like erections all the time, but they have different excuses for it. They only get it when like looking at younger people, and they have different excuses. And so like one will be like, maybe like it's your fault because, what do they like to say? They like to do that same thing that turned out narcs like to do, due to their trauma and them like not wanting to admit that they have the stuff going on that they do. So they'll be like they'll constantly be like going on rants about how they're not attracted to men even though they are, because they're turned out because they're trauma. But anyways, they'll do something like that. They'll be like, well, I'm just like attracted to women and you're a woman, and that's why I have an erection and it's your fault. And then like somebody else will say the same thing. And so hopefully this is making sense now. Those are just like a couple of examples of the patterns. Or maybe like you get into like a crazy relationship or quote unquote friendship, or somebody like some random person assaults you walking down the street every year around the same time. Different things like that. Then there's this other thing which revolves around the fact that people have been strategically hypersexualized and turned out, and people are raised in corn from like infancy. The school system's mess, and of course the subliminal messages, which aren't even subliminal anymore, to be honest, that are in music and TV shows and cartoons that like push for hypersexuality. This was also one of the first things I started researching when I was 7, 8, and this is part of why I realized that like I already didn't like the weird sexual music anyways, but I really knew that I needed to like just avoid watching TV because I was already really messed up and like possessed, and I didn't want to like get any worse. In fact, I remember one of my first, well not my first, but one of the ones that I actually like anyways was a video I made at 8 on YouTube that was about Girl Meets World and the hypersexuality agenda and that, or really in Disney in general. But it definitely made me think even more. And also another part of this is that they already know that if they turn out the kids and they have paraphilias, they're not going to mind getting with older people. And of course, like the parents already don't care. I mean, the boomers and what were they? The baby boomers, the boomers, and it was like, what was it? Was it the millennials or I don't know, but we already know that like all those like 60s to 90s kids were getting essayed and covering up their kids' essay and family essay. And also I noticed, as usual, people try to make it like a racial thing, but it wasn't a racial thing. a lot of people say that everybody was getting SA back then, the boys and the girls of all ethnicities. I mean, it still happens, obviously, but, like, that was definitely the time period of people, like, getting turned out. Honestly, even before that, like, I mean, if you research Christopher Columbus, I mean, they trafficked their own kids, so it's like, there's nothing new under the sun, but there's definitely a strategic agenda when it comes to the Homo Manifesto, which I don't even really want to call it that. I really rather call it the Paraphilia Manifesto. Okay, I remember what I was saying now. So, point is, this is something that I had an issue with, especially when I was, like, younger, and I was trying to, like, make the point that people are, like, really hypersexualized anyway, so commonly there's just, like, a lot of sexual jokes and, like, people make everything sexual. But this is something that you're going to have an issue with, especially if you, like, really have these issues and are, like, deep into sexual addiction, or just, like, have different spirits from, like, trauma and SA that's current or did happen, or you're just, like, I don't know, butt naked on the computer all day or something. So, actually, I really have always wanted to make a video about how there's, like, a connection between being on the computer too much, video games, which I think has, like, something to do with, like, the age regression side, and being a chomo. Because, like, there's always this joke of like, the chomo dude who's, like, naked in his mom's basement on the computer. But anyhow, making everything sexual, and, like, even, like, hearing people say things that they really didn't say, or, like, acting like people are saying things that they're really not saying. And I remember, like, when I first escaped the Cash for Kids system some years ago, and I was, not that this was, like, my first time being around chomos, obviously. I even noticed this, like, a lot in GA with, like, school staff, quote-unquote school staff, different people, but especially, like, in the traveler and full-blown homeless community. I just, like, saw similarities, especially with, like, issues I used to have and the different predatory people. This reminds me of the Leviathan spirit, because the Leviathan spirit twists words, and, like, when people have these certain sexual issues, they'll, like, act like you're alluding to things and saying things that you're really not saying. Like, you could be walking by somebody and you'll be like, hey, how are you doing today? And then he'll be like, or she'll be like, oh, so you're saying that you want to have oral sex with me? And it's like, nobody said that. But that's what they hear, and that's also what they want to hear. But, like, it's just a lot of stuff with this, like the spiritual side and the trauma side, and it's just a lot. But it's also kind of like some projection, which kind of will go into the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is how, like, the predatory people are really sneaky, or they think they're sneaky, but really nobody gives a crap what they're doing to whoever anyways. But it's like, they're really projecting to a certain extent, or, well, not to a certain extent sometimes, because, like, they don't want to say what they want to do, so they want to pretend that you want to do it. And that's also why they'll say things like, you're just curious and you want this and things like that. But they don't want to just say what they want to do, so they want to, like, make you feel like or think you want to do it, and you may not even really know what they're talking about, because for one, manipulation is witchcraft. It's emotional witchcraft, and, like, with that and with, like, trauma symptoms that also make you do emotional witchcraft whether on purpose or not, it's, like, a lot of talking in code, and it's like, this is something I have to, like, really try to not do myself, because it seems like whenever you tell people how you really feel, like, just about anything, like, even, like, minor stuff, like, I don't know, I don't like those shoes, people, like, get mad, so, like, you get this mindset that you have to talk around what you really want to say, because if you do say it, you're going to get in trouble, somebody's going to, like, beat you up or something. And it's a lot of different things with this, but just, like, talking in code, pretty much. They won't just, well, some of them will, but some of them won't say that they want to, like, SA you. They'll just be like, I need somebody to help me clean my house because I got sick and I'm old and my house is dirty and I can't wash the dishes. They'll do all of that to try to, like, manipulate and lure you into something instead of just saying, I want to SA you. And it's, like, just straight up manipulation. Like I talked about with that girl in Slab City, it's like, if the dude has to sneak to be around you and try to pretend that he's not with you and like wants you to jump in his car and drive off into the sunset every time other people come around, then like obviously it's not a good quote unquote relationship. And if you want to be truthfully honest, that goes back to what I call abuser paranoia. And it's something that I used to talk about a lot on the evidence channels, like with different things that are being done to me and other people in the Cash for Kids system, because it's like, why do abusers feel the need to be so paranoid about somebody quote unquote finding out or saying something when everybody already knows? Nobody does anything because nobody gives a crap what you have going on. People are worried about them and their household, supposedly, and are minding their business. But for whatever reason, some abusers have this idea that like somebody out there actually really gives a crap and is going to do something. And so they like feel the need to like sneak and beat around the bush and do all this weird stuff when really nobody gives a crap. And most people are enablers or flying monkeys anyways. But the term I made for this some years ago is abuser paranoia. There's probably like other names for it, but that's what I call it. Then another thing with abuser paranoia. I got reminded of this like a month ago when I was talking to this lady about like paranoia and people that like do meth or heroin and other stuff like that. Although it's not even really about the substances, it's like about the person themselves to a certain extent. But like for whatever reason, the chomos that like use these substances, well honestly even ones that don't, it's like they go into like really bad paranoia and they really start to feel like somebody really cares about the stuff that they've done, even though they know that like the lawyers and law officials, all those people are Freemason, Luciferian, Thelemite chomos who like love their own kind and are pro-abuse, but they get really paranoid about the police coming after them. And honestly, really what it is like demons coming after them. But they'll be like high driving down the highway, and then they'll like call somebody and they'll say, "You gotta come help me. The police are following me around claiming I'm a child molester." And it's like, and I was talking to this one lady and she was like, she uses substances, I don't remember which one, but she was like, really a lot of the paranoia stuff is about what people are into themselves and like things that they've done to people, and you only really feel worried about like things happening to you or people coming after you based off of what you've done to people yourself. And I mean it's like that sometimes, but I mean other times it is just because of like trauma from like the person always having people coming after them and like abusing them. But anyways, she was like, when I get high, I would never think that somebody's following me around saying I'm a child molester because I haven't molested anybody. People just like get like that because of things that they've done that are haunting them, or that's haunting them. Then also another thing which I've talked about before, I think, maybe, especially with like people I've known throughout the years that have fallen into the cycle of like seeking chomos for validation, and even as a parent figure because of neglect, abuse, and other things. And they commonly have PDs like I've already said, but like they have limerence / FPs, which as I've talked about before, that's something that I used to like have a lot until I really like, how do I summarize this? So I like, I don't know, what was it, 12, more so 14, I really just got tired of like having a lot of people around that really didn't like me, like playing unpaid emotional therapist, being codependent, limerence obsessions, having FPs. My dad had already told me to leave people the F alone because of like different sexual issues I had when I was younger that was like worse from 8 to 9 or 8 to 11. And so I took that into consideration, which of course leaving people the F alone revolved around me leaving a lot of people alone, including relatives. But I just cut people off and I was like, I'm just going to stop this mess and stop the madness. And limerence obsessions and romantic obsessions and like sexual issues goes really, really bad together. I was about to tell a story, but I don't even know if I should. I think I've told it before, like, well, not the full story, not since the evidence channels, but more so like, just like how my dad had a 50B restraining order and like the way the generational curses goes, like, I was on the road of like getting a couple of those in like elementary, or at least some type of restraining order, but yeah, like really at 12 I was like just really tired of this issue. And the point I'm getting at is that, I think I've already said it, all that stuff goes really, really bad together. especially when it comes to like chomos and like really predatory people. And like this is why you have dudes like John Parker and etc. that are willing to sell their car, move across the country, and sneak and live in kids' closets for a week. And that's like the bare minimum, to be honest. But the limerence, the addiction, which reminds me of something I forgot to say, which is that addiction isn't like when you like seek out something to like use it. Addiction is when something, a substance or a thing, and the spirits that are attached to it seek you out and get you to use them. Which also kind of goes back to the whole thing with the Marine Kingdom agents and like chomos and R word is just popping up all over the place. It's seeking you out. You're not seeking it out. Or maybe you do like fall into the addiction and the cycle of the trauma and abuse, and you do like kind of what I was just talking about, where you seek these people out for like validation, emotional support, quote unquote, and different things like that. And even with the way that like the possession works on both ends and spiritual transference and like the ritual and all that is like with the supernatural arousal and different things like that, the spirits could even convince you that you want it and that you like it and that you want to do it. And then of course the ritual happens and all the trauma and the flashbacks kick in after the fact. And that's how a lot of people get stuck in cycles for really a lot of things. They think they want it, then they do it again, and then it goes horrible. And even if it's like, if nothing too traumatic happens, I mean, still it is, the situation is the ritual it is, and so like the flashbacks are going to come after. So, but yeah, anyways, these dudes have limerence, or women. They may have a God complex, which honestly, I mean, people are taught to have that. Schools teach you that you're God, so of course people are going to have a God complex. It can be worse in certain situations, but you're going to have that, or they're going to have that. What else was I saying? They're just going to have a lot of issues and be really risky. I don't remember what point I was supposed to be getting at, though. Like John Parker dude believes he's an Egyptian god and all types of things, and it's like, I mean, you just get all types of demons from these people, just like so many sexually transmitted demons. I mean, it's just so risky. I mean, you're going to be thinking you're God too after a while and all the other weird stuff. And another thing is, which this could go for like so many different types of abusers and like, I guess what people may call dark empaths, if that means what I think it means. Like, I don't know about like clinical terms for dark empath, but I know like when I hear the term, I think of like somebody that was a scapegoat or was anointed, but they turned over to the dark side and they went reprobate. So like a narc who was a scapegoat, but they became a narc, or quote unquote narc, because I don't really like the psychological labels, but something like that is what I think of. And so of course they're clairvoyant, and they can sense out other people who are in bad situations or traumatized. Like, I know my dad specifically, he could find like messed up, broken, traumatized women on Facebook, and just from looking at pictures. And that's how that goes, actually, which is actually a generational gift of it's like a type of prophetic type gift, but of course people can use this for like anything. So you don't just get it because like you're traumatized and you can like tell they're traumatized people. You were born gifted and now you're using it for whatever the heck. But anyways, clairvoyance. And this reminds me of like this coffee shop type place that I found on like some job website or app really. And it was definitely like a human trafficking thing, and I could just tell it's gonna be some fishy bull crap. And so like the dude had called, and I was like, and like due to like me being able to tell certain things, I could tell that like he was definitely horny and he definitely had plans, and he was like trying to like, he must have thought I was stupid or something and wanted somebody to like quote unquote drive to come get me. And so yeah, the coffee shops, they are part of human trafficking, some of them, but that's a whole nother video. Don't even know if I mentioned that before. I think I have, but anyways, they're clairvoyant and can tell when you're in a bad situation. If you have the gift, you can too, or you can tell a lot of things. And also like the demonic arousal can also spread, and that could also be used to like lure you into situations and make you feel like you do want it, but you really don't. Honestly, for a lot of things, even like these quote-unquote relationships that people are getting into, which I always say, dating is prostitution, but that's... In fact, something else I could just throw in is that it kind of makes me think about the Kundalini spirit and false deliverance ministries, which is a big thing on the West Coast, but everywhere. Honestly, I wouldn't trust any religious organization on the West Coast, but I'm not even going to go into that. So, you see with the Kundalini spirit, they can like just lay their hand on somebody or just like do a hand motion or something, and like people will fall to the ground and like start like acting like a snake or start laughing or barking like a dog, things like that. That's a part of the Kundalini spirit, but like the supernatural arousal, I feel like that can also have like a weird transference type thing with just like eye gestures, like kind of like with people with seduction spirits, male or female. They can just look somebody in their eyes and like that type of spiritual transference happens, and like the supernatural arousal can happen. Or it could also happen like during I don't know, like if you have sexual addiction to like lure you into something. In fact, something that I noticed when I was like younger is that this more so happened to me like after just different like abuse situations. So like maybe, I don't know, something happened in the Cash for Kids system, like I witnessed some kid getting, I don't know, a needle stuck in their butt or something. And then, like, I guess, like, the sadness or other emotions, or, like, the different spirits signal to, like, try their chance to get you to, like, fall into bad coping mechanisms. Hopefully those were good enough examples. Which, that last thing could also go back to how, whoopings, especially, which whoopings are sexual abuse, they train you to believe that, like, people who love you hurt you, and also to believe that, like, pain is love and that pain feels good, which is why people fall into BDSM and all those other similar things. This is even tied to like why people can end up with issues where getting into arguments can like make them aroused, because just trauma from stuff that happened with them and their family, or witnessing domestic violence, both. And it seems like these types of spirits always manifest in a person's face. People always talk about this when it comes to like gay dudes especially, but like nobody ever talks about it when it comes to like anything else. You know, like I can literally tell if somebody is like this just by looking at them. I can also tell who's riskier, because like it seems like a lot of things in life are about safe people. Safe people have safe people, and people who just aren't safe at all. And it's like there's types where like they won't straight up assault you, but they'd still like do whatever with you if they feel like you're quote unquote asking or agreeing to it. But there's a lot of levels with that too. And then lastly, for this part one, they're energy vampires looking for sexual energy, or really the spirits in them that they let work through them. But this also goes back to the whole Slab City thing with like the people wanting to get that girl to start doing drugs, not just so they can SA her, but so like they can drag her down the same path of misery and mistakes and depression that they're on and have been on. That's what they want to do. And that's another thing with this energy vampire stuff. It's kind of like that saying, misery loves company. So like, I'm going to edit in a post, or at least put the link in the description. I seen it earlier and it made me think about this. It was people like capturing some chomo and like interviewing him, and he even said that like it's the light that's in them that attracts him to the kids, and like, and not even just kids, like even like adults, anointed people, stuff like that. And that goes back to the clairvoyance thing too. But anywho, they're attracted to the light. They want to like destroy your innocence and turn you out and defile you, and then it's something else. At least I guess that's all I wrote. And then lastly, something I forgot to mention when it comes to the predator spirit. I might have already said this, or at least I think I was going to, but then I went on a rant about something else. But I had this one dream, and it was like this dude, and I knew he was like an abuser, and so like he was dark, and it was like a lot of darkness just like in there and around him. and he was like standing in a doorway and like looking into the doorway. It was like a room door. It's not someone I've ever seen before. So the first thing that came to my mind was like, oh, well, maybe my mom got a new boyfriend. But earlier then I was like, actually, no. Because like I got this like revelation. I was like, actually, what that really seems to be is a predator spirit trying to like gain access again. So yeah, there's that. Then like another just like side thing, another Marine Kingdom dream. So like it was like the seafood shop. This was like a while ago. And whenever I have like enough ability to in dreams and I have like enough like control over what I do and don't do, I like take a picture of stuff so I can remember it after. And so like I remember to take a picture, and it was like some people that were very obviously like agents, demonic agents, disguised as like people, and they were trying to like feed me stuff from like this seafood shop. But the seafood shop was serving cut up mermaids, and like the mermaids actually had black eyes and they were dead. Like it was like a head of a mermaid and it was chopped up, and like then there was a torso, then there was like the fin or the legs, I guess, the bottom half, and they were literally trying to like mess me up and feed me mermaids. Okay, I forgot about this part. I know a lot of people are gonna have an issue with this. Most people probably have an issue with like everything I post, but people who date chomos are also weird. They're sometimes even like just like attracting the same spirit that hurt them in the past. And so like they're codependent, but they also like are attracting more predatory spirit people. But it's like also they get a kick out of like their kids being victimized, and even maybe sometimes themselves with their kids. And they also like have perversion issues themselves, to where like some of them, they're also like jezebelic or quote unquote narcs, and so like they feel like they're fighting their kids over their boyfriend or girlfriend when things like this happen, or even when things like this don't happen. They'll just like make up a lot of accusations about their kids like wanting to date their partners. And so people who date chomos are also weird. And it was something else. Oh yeah, the chomo's parents are also weird. Like, I may have talked about this before, but their parents are also chomos. Their parents allow them to do the stuff that they do. They even taught them to do the things that they do. Just like how I say all the time, any family system where there's like sibling SA, or even like relative SA and incest, it's a dysfunctional family system. There's more issues going on than just that. And also the parents allow it and condone it. So yeah, like their moms, the dude's moms, are commonly like weird chomo people themselves, like all types of paraphilias, and their moms are into all types of stuff, and they like help keep all the stuff that they do a secret. Another thing is that so many different ritualistic weird sexual acts are normalized, to where when somebody is into that type of stuff, you're taught to like not be judgmental, or maybe you're into it too, so you don't see anything wrong with it. Like I used to say a lot on the evidence channels, when you get in these like age gap relationships, or maybe it's not even age gap, maybe the person's just like obviously iffy and risky and sus, but you don't see anything wrong with it, and maybe you're the exact same age, or maybe they're younger than you are, but even if you don't get the bad end of the stick, or you don't feel like you are, the kids are going to take the real punch in the face, or the kids' friends. But like I always say, with every agenda that's pushed, the youth take the fall and feel the burn and the pain. Okay, so CSA is a real pandemic. I've seen a lot of stories and known a lot of people where, due to the fact that they don't have parents, or their parents are abusive, which pretty much that's the same thing, or their family's abusive or whatever, everybody around them, not everybody, but like everybody around them becomes like perpetrators to them. And then of course the surrounding people are flying monkeys and enablers. So a lot of people like will be like, well, I don't believe this person because, like, how is everybody around them a predator? Like, how did their parent essay them, then their teacher essayed them, and then their neighbor essayed them. But that's the thing, though. The spiritual side of being targeted, and also just like when people see that you don't have anybody to protect you and that nobody gives a crap about you, they know that they can do whatever they want to you, and even that their abusers will do whatever they want to you with them, if that came out right. But like, kind of like how I always say, people who have healthy parents or healthy enough parents refuse to believe that the Cash for Kids system exists, and that there's like really like systems out there that are funded by taxpayer dollars where like people are sent to be tortured and drugged and essayed by their parents. And that's what happens when you don't have anybody that gives a crap about you. If you don't have discernment, you'll never really know how many predatory people are around you and toxic people are around you until like you don't have a covering, which kind of reminds me of the whole 2 Timothy, don't remember the verse thing. These are the type that sneak into the houses of silly women laden with sin, the chomos and the psychiatrists and stuff. Also, as I've mentioned often, this common societal phenomenon where somebody's essayed and the perpetrator makes CSA imagery or quote-unquote CP, which of course, as I always say, the kid victim is charged with quote-unquote CP and put on the offender registry and all that, but the perpetrators get away free. But anyways, with internet essay blackmail from predators, the predator will like keep the pictures, send them to people at the kid's school, or the essay imagery will go viral. And then what happens? The police department doesn't do anything. They confiscate the phone to quote-unquote look for more evidence for years. They blame the kid. They talk junk to the kid. The already abusive parents play victim and they're embarrassed of the kid, and then they talk junk about the kid too. And then commonly the person ends up like unaliving themselves. Some of them are still alive. Like, there was one case that I talk about often that was back in the 2010s. There used to be a lot of videos about it, but eventually like everybody got together and got all the videos deleted. So now you can't even find anything about the person. I remember they had even made a YouTube channel where they were like holding up signs and sticky notes and stuff about what they were going to do to themselves because their parents, the local police department, and everybody at their school, students and teachers were all making fun of them for getting essayed. And this actually happens a lot. I even know plenty of people personally who this has happened to that are still alive, that still get bullied to this day, and they're like almost 30 for what happened with their essay. Just a small example of how everybody around you can turn into a predator. Like one lady I know, people at her school even like hung nooses on her locker and told her that she should unalive herself due to the essay. And like this one girl, she's still a teenager as well, and she even had this one police officer at her school make fun of her for it, and then eventually he got fired because he was essaying the kids at the school and bringing them to his house for quote-unquote parties. And it's like, how are you going to tell her she's ruining her life? Which, I mean, seeking out predators is ruining your life, but how are you going to make fun of her for what was happening to her, but you're also a predator? But it's like, what in the world? People are just so whatever.